This is Good Evening San Diego.
Good evening, San Diego. I'm Logan Burns.
Great to have you with us. I'm Ginger Jeffries. In-person teaching begins for more than 700 migrant teenagers staying in the convention center, with an additional group expected to arrive sometime today. KUSI's Hunter Sowers joins us live from the convention center with the very latest on operations that are underway as we speak. Hunter.
Yeah, Ginger, you're right. These are fully underway right now. We know on Monday that the SBCS, who is overseeing some of these operations here, told us that in-person instruction would be starting soon. And of course, we're going to take a deeper dive into that. But first, let's get you caught up on the very latest as far as those numbers go. HHS confirming to me late last night that of the 725 girls who are currently staying here right now, at least 82 have tested positive. I've requested more information on just how many may have to be in quarantine right now for possible exposure. We know that those group of girls were being tested every 3 days to ensure that all CDC protocol was being followed and hoping to mitigate this spread that continues. We know more are expected tonight, as you mentioned, with 1,400 expected to be here by Sunday. And we have not heard yet if any have been reunified. So we know that number was supposed to fluctuate, but we have not heard back from HHS about the latest on that. But let's go back to that in-person teaching. That's gotten really national attention. And we want to bring in someone who was on the San Diego County Board of Education. He's now an adjunct professor, Mark Powell, with more on this decision. And Mark, we've been speaking about just what steps may have been in place to decide something like this. And can you do you have any idea what had to happen before those teachers began to volunteer?
Well, I have a couple of ideas. And first of all, we want to make sure this is not about how they entered the country, whether they should be here or not. San Diego is such a gracious place. They welcome these kids here just like they welcome my family when they arrived here in '58. Very nice of them. But as far as the education goes, we have to ensure that the teachers who are coming over here are prepared for something called social emotional learning. These kids have been traumatized, and what an adult says to them could do further damage, further traumatization. For example, do you have any brothers or sisters? A simple question like that could set a kid into a deep depression or a trauma situation. I can speak from that because I have a master's in counseling. I understand a little bit about this.
When something like this goes underway, did anything happen when you were on the Board of Education where a decision had to be made like this? And why do you feel like maybe we're still having to ask questions of former board members because we can't actually get in touch with those who are sitting on the board right now?
Well, we know historically school districts are not transparent. It would have been better for the district to come out in front and explain to us how many counselors are here. Don't you think we need counselors before teachers, at least to talk to them? We have a lot of counselors in the school districts. We have school psychologists. I'm hopeful that they're doing these things, but it's better for them to tell us what they're doing instead of for all of us to sit around and second guessing, making national news about what are they doing in San Diego. In fact, some of those news stations are making us look bad for even accepting these kids here, which is just the opposite of what it should be.
And the pushback that we've received mostly is the fact that, especially from parents here in San Diego, is that their children aren't even back 5 days a week. And we don't know, that I understand how often these children are getting this educational learning. But can you speak to that frustration of parents?
My phone was blowing up today with parents calling me saying, why are my children doing hybrid learning 2 days a week and these kids are having 5 days a week of instruction when the COVID rate is so much higher than any of the school districts that we've seen? But the good news is the COVID rate was high with these girls. I didn't hear one hospitalization. I heard they were asymptomatic. So that just tells you that a lot of our educational leaders are not following the science, they're following the politics.
And that's frustrating for so many kids sitting here and hearing this. They're on spring break, so these volunteers had to do so voluntarily. I mean, what do you think that says right now for those kids sitting at home?
Well, first of all, thank you to the volunteers. What kind people to come in and volunteer to help these kids. My heart goes out to the teachers. They're great people. However, we need to also look at what do our kids need. Our kids also need social emotional learning. Our kids also need to be given those kind of things that they've had taken away from them for the last year. You know, a lot of them are having a lot of mental health issues, stress, anxiety, all because of the lockdown. It's time for them to open up the schools, open up fully, and let's get to a 5-day instructional day.
If you were sitting on the San Diego County Board of Education right now, or you could speak to those who are representing the district and making these decisions, what would you say to them?
You need to come out and tell the world what you're doing, how you're teaching. Are you assessing every student to make sure they don't have special education needs? What are you going to teach them? And what happens after you teach them? Where are they going to go? What are you going to do with the curriculum?
What curriculum? Have you heard anything about that? Any steps that would be in place right now?
They need to come out and let us know what's going on. I don't want to watch world news again saying we don't know what they're doing. They're taking a bunch of kids from the border, but no one's saying anything. I mean, they work for us. We pay taxes. Come out and tell us what you're doing. It's not a big deal.
It's something that I think a lot of people are wondering right now, especially as kids sit at home and have been for over a year now. Mark Powell, anything else you want to add about this situation right now?
The last thing is that I'm hopeful that these kids get the emotional support that they need to move on. They've been traumatized, and being traumatized is also a factor that leads to homelessness. I know we threw out a bunch of, or not throw them out, we asked a bunch of homeless people to leave to make room for these students. We don't want them to turn into homeless people as well. So let's address those mental health issues.
How we appreciate you taking time to be here today. And guys, as we mentioned, this is an ongoing thing. It really seems like we have more questions than answers. We have been reaching out to not only the San Diego County Board of Education, but also Health and Human Services about what steps are being put into place right now, what the curriculum is for these children here who are receiving that in-person learning, and why maybe they decided to move forward with this faster than kids here in San Diego County who have some been sitting at home for the last year without any in-person learning. Certainly something we are hoping to get those answers to, and very soon. But for now, we're live here at the Convention Center. We'll send it back to you in the studio.
Certainly answers we deserve, especially given the national attention that San Diego is now getting for this decision. Hunter, thank you.